Chapter 2. Haha. I'm not done. 2 presentations in one day. Chapter 1, Chapter 2. I'm not here to play. 2 presentations in one day. Chapter 2 is on its way. Ladies and gentlemen. I thank y'all for the love. We're about to learn a little bit more about the planet Saturn and its connection to our spiritual development. I want to welcome you once again to the Cosmic Christ University. I am ordained metaphysical minister Dr. Coleman, reporting live. And like I just said, I want to introduce you to Chapter 2 on our presentation on the planet Saturn and its connection to our spiritual development and growth. Now, for those who watched Chapter 1, thank you so much. I know it just dropped, but I'm not here to play. We talked about the planet Saturn's connection to our maturity, our spiritual growth, our development on this planet. And as energy beings, before we came to be known as physical beings, how we were connected to the source. Now, as we have fallen, I guess you could say, into this dense matter, as we have carried on the attributes of the planet Saturn, it is now time for us to go beyond Saturn and beyond our everyday normal consciousness to reach higher spiritual development. So for those who have watched Chapter 1, I know it's just dropped. I know I just hit you right now with Chapter 2 as we speak, but this is not a time for games. If you know you are a spiritual person, then you know there is obligations, there are responsibilities, there is accountabilities that we all have in the age of Aquarius as our consciousness expands to a higher understanding. People cannot keep on complaining about the politics, the president, the structure of our government, the structure of our religion without putting an effort into changing it. One person can change the world, but many people together with that same divine union as that one person can make a bigger impact. So I'm not going to hold too much time. For those who watched Chapter 1, we're going straight into Chapter 2. I said for those who paid attention and loved what you hear on Chapter 1, even though it just dropped, get ready for Chapter 2. This is what the minister does. And here we go. Now I'm going to take my chewing gum out because it's all about respect when I talk to my brothers and sisters. Taking my chewing gum out. Now y'all can chew your gum all you want to. Eat, snack up. As long as you're listening, I don't mind. So let's jump right into Chapter 2. Once again, title, the planet Saturn and its spiritual connection to our developmental growth. Let's go. The cycle of Saturn progresses steadily through the various areas and activities of our early life in 4 7-year phases. And family, I've written down some numbers. And if you want to, because you're supposed to be having a pen and paper, unless you're driving right now, and if you're driving on the road, listen to the minister, I want to thank you for just being intuitive with the word. 7, these are numbers I want you to write down. 7, 14, 21, 36, 44, 51. These are the certain 7-year age groups that the energy of Saturn not just manifested within our bodies, but also show its true attributes in our life when dealing with maturity and growth and personality developments as well. So let's keep on reading. I thank you for your patience. Like I said, we're going right in on this beautiful Sunday. Once again, my family, the cycle of Saturn progresses steadily through the various areas and activities of our early life in 4 7-year phases of development. This builds to the Saturn return around the age of 28, which is when Saturn completes its first orbit around the sun to its exact position at our birth. During our first 28 years, we usually experience Saturn energies through our gender, race, and family conditionings, as well as through our interactions with religious, educational, legal, and political institutions. Let's stop there at only 5 minutes. To the people who wake up every day, go asleep every day on automation, on the same mode autopilot, this is proof. Remember, like I told you in chapter 1, if somebody is giving you information, whether YouTube or TikTok, they should also be able to give you the resource of where that information comes from. Now, like I said, you have been, everybody, a lot of people, majority of you, have been on automation, waking up every day thinking that your life is just the same, like working a 9-to-5 job where it's not going good, where the energy's not there. The minister totally understands this. The minister understands this. I've been through it. Everybody has been through it. And if you haven't been through it, you know somebody who has been through it, where you just feel like you're a mechanical machine sometimes. You feel like you're just running a strict program where there is no liberation within your mind, body, and soul. But that's not true. Once you realize that you're in bondage, that this physical shell is only a temporary, and that you're the essence of you, that spirit, that soul, it has so much more to do, that's when the work begins. So let me read this one more time, and I thank you for your beautiful patience. This builds to the Saturn return around the age of 28, family, 28 years old, which is when Saturn completes its first orbit around the sun to its exact position at our birth. During our first 28 years, family that's watching today, we usually experience Saturn energies. We're talking about the planet Saturn, yes. We usually experience Saturn energies through our gender, family, our race, and family conditioning, as well as through our interactions with religious, educational, legal, and political institutions. So when we're talking about mental health, I don't want people to be putting the blame on themselves. There is a structure, as above, so below, that has most of the planet's consciousness in the bondage. As such, Saturn energies represent and establish the moral, social, and legal beliefs which serve as our foundational rules and guidelines in life. Now, how many of you, now listen, I didn't skip the page, but I'll find it. I know what page we'll start at. But how many of you ever heard of David Icke? By hit like button. How many of you have heard of David Icke? You know, David Icke been doing his thing since the late 70s, I believe, when it comes to world corruption, reptilian humanoids, you name it. He actually gave us the brother from the doggone tribe, Credo Mutua, I want to say. Doggone tribe legend. Doggone tribe legend. R.I.P. to that brother. But he also talked about how the moon that we look up to every night, how it was placed here by, if you want to see, ancient aliens, ETs, ancestors, whatever you want to call it. And that how the moon is really a hollow sphere that is pretty much a satellite that monitors Earth. And with Saturn, the moon-Saturn connection, we in this flesh are governed and bondage by the energies that come from the moon and Saturn energies. How many of you have heard David Icke or people like David Wilcock, the brother William Cooper, R.I.P., the author of Beyond the Pale Horse? How many of you have heard that before? And this is what we're getting into with chapter 2. This is what we're getting in with chapter 2. That you have to come humans. You have to come immortals who believe that they're immortals to the realization that your energy has been for a very long time in bondage by people who not just know who you are, but also practice ancient magic and grimoires. So let's read this again. I'm not trying to throw you off, but you need to know this in 2026, in the age of Aquarius, the return of the divine feminine energy in this quantum world. So let's read this again. As such, Saturn, we're once again talking about planet Saturn, Saturn's energies represent and establish the moral, social, and legal beliefs which serve as our foundational rules and guidelines in life. Now, think about what's going on in politics. Think about what is being exposed all throughout the world now. You are seeing a structure being destroyed in front of our eyes, a structure that has put a blindfold not just on America, but the whole planet, but most definitely the Western civilization. When it is understood from the perspective of our life experiences, this cycle and its phases reveal to us the nature of the challenges we must face and overcome to realize the potential for our individualization from human and overcome to realize the potential. I read that again. When it is understood from the perspective, let me read this incomplete. When it is understood from the perspective of our life experiences, this cycle and its phases reveal to us the nature of the challenges we must face and overcome to realize the potential for our individualization from human group entities and for our individualization and consciousness. We must face and overcome to realize the potential for our individualization from human group entities and for our individualization and consciousness. Wow. The underlying energy behind the principles and potential for expanding human consciousness seems to relate directly to the Saturn cycle. Now, if you watch chapter 1, you see that our development as humans, as we advance and go beyond, starts from the sun and ends at Saturn as our personal development in this physical body. But as we talked about in chapter 1, Saturn and past Saturn, which we're talking about Uranus and beyond, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, I do believe. If you watch chapter 1, I had a hell of a time trying to remember the planets in order. Not even going to try to do it again because you guys know where I'm at with it. But once again, chapter 1, we talked about how the sun, all the way through Saturn, is our personal development. Us in this physical body gearing up to get ready for a higher ascension. Now, chapter 1, we also talked about after Saturn, but I do believe after Saturn, the next planet is Uranus. From there on, we are now reaching higher spiritual development. And I also told you, if you watch chapter 1, to Google what Uranus means in Greek, and we found out that it meant heaven. So let's keep on going. I thank you for your patience once again. When it is understood from the perspective of our life experience, family, once again, this cycle and its phases reveals to us the nature of the challenges we must face and overcome to realize the potential for our individualization from human group entities and for our individualization and consciousness. The underlying energy behind the principles and potential of expanding human consciousness. Today in 2026, the year of, it's about us expanding our human consciousness. For those who love Jesus, for those who understand who Yeshua was, he was here to raise and for you to expand your consciousness because he knew by the time the age of Aquarius was going to hit, what we are in now, that the people are going to wake up and see some stuff that they never thought they'd seen before or would see. So let's keep on going. And I thank you for your patience. The Saturn energy cycle helps us better understand the multi-dimensional phases of our development during childhood. My God. Because y'all know, if you watch me, I said that what? We are multi-dimensional beings. We're not just human beings. I might just have to make a stand and have many people with me. There's a lot of things you can sign now, like a petition or something where we can change something. I want to start a petition where we can say that we are no longer human beings. For the ones who know that they are not human beings, that they are multi-dimensional beings. You may be saying, Minister, how can we just say that we're not human beings and that we're multi-dimensional beings? You may be watching and saying, Minister Corbin, Dr. Corbin, How can you just sit here and say that I'm not a human being? What makes me a multi-dimensional being? Well, my answer to that question is because you transcend time, space, and matter. Before Abraham, I am. You can sit down and meditate, my family, and go from your living room to the cosmic and beyond. You are not no human being. You are multi-dimensional beings, and it is time for us to take a stand and accept the fact that we are such. Now, once again, the Saturn energy cycle helps us better understand the multi-dimensional phases of our development during childhood, as well as how we structure and live our lives in adulthood. Interesting. Its natal position, we're talking about birth chart, its natal position as we enter physical embodiment sets in motion our spiritual, psychological, and physical phases of growth. When viewed as external to us, these energies seem almost to have an institutional authority over us. My gosh. In this respect, the life and death cycle of Saturn governs our lives. However, when we internalize Saturn, we are able to begin appreciating its energy structure as guiding our development within the form of physical life. In short, a lot of people claim the daily struggle. A lot of people just claim that they're on automation, that their life is in bondage, that it just seems like I'm just stepping into the same old things. If you don't know the power of Saturn and how it governs your life, not just as something bad, but almost like we said in chapter 1, almost like a loving parent who must show discipline in order for you to understand the growth that it has for you. If you're not in tune to that, then yes, life is going to feel like a biatch. But once you internalize the power, the attributes, and the discipline of what Saturn is doing to prepare you for your growth into the next planet systems and to raise your consciousness, once you internalize that, then it starts to make sense to your family, is what it's saying. Now, I'll read that again, once again. When we reach the point in any embodiment where we begin to internalize and appreciate Saturn, it becomes part of our spiritual makeup. And that's not where I left you, but let's go back here. The Saturn energy cycle, family, I want to say this again. The Saturn energy cycle helps us better understand the multi-dimensional phases of our development during childhood, family, as well as how we structure our life and lives our adulthood. Its natal position as we enter physical embodiment sets in motion our spiritual, psychological, and physical phases of growth. When viewed as external to us, outside of us, these energies seem almost to have an institutional authority over us, right? As well as the zodiacs, right? In this respect, the life and death cycle of Saturn governs our lives, okay, family? However, when we internalize Saturn, my family, when we go within of the attributes and energy and discipline of Saturn, family, we are able to begin appreciating its energy structures as guiding our development within the form of physical life. When we reach the point in any embodiment where we begin to internalize and appreciate Saturn, it becomes part of our spiritual makeup. Essentially, this means that we have accepted responsibility for the terms and conditions of coming into embodiment with our accumulated karma. Whenever we feel the pitch of our matter boundaries and limitations in consciousness, we know that this is our guidepost for internalizing what we need to transmute. Then we begin to embrace it as an essential aid on our path to freedom instead of relating to Saturn as our parent or taskmaster. As our parent or, I quote, taskmaster. So instead of looking at it as a punishment, we can internalize and see that this is a holy blessing for our spiritual growth as we spiral upwards in consciousness. We also begin to realize and accept that we used this ability unconsciously to crystallize our thoughts, feeling and beliefs into our consciousness and body consciousness in ways that made us our own keeper. Huh. When we reach this point, we begin to see our life struggles and conflicts as our teacher to help us identify and transmute the conditions we have created that cause us such pain and difficulty. We are then able to take conscious responsibility for our life and destiny. In contrast to this astrological perspective, our material and social conditioning offer us a different viewpoint of authority. Most of us are led to believe that we are adults at the age of 18 or 21. However, the truth of the matter is, at these ages, we have barely begun to live. At 20 minutes going in on chapter 2, how many of you can relate to this? I'm 41 right now. I am 41 right now. And there was a time when I was 18, a time when I was 21, where I thought I was ready for the world. I thought that I knew all I needed to know to get me to where I needed to grow. But it wasn't until I experienced things in my 30s, experienced things, of course, in my late 30s, to where I got to the point at 40, then I'm starting to see what this all means. And even at 40, and we have examples of people like Moses and Abraham, who it wasn't until they got in their 60s, 70s, and 80s where it all started to make sense. So you are always growing, you are always learning from life lessons and karmic lessons. Once again, in contrast to this astrological perspective, family, our material and social conditioning offers us a different viewpoint of authority. Most of us are led to believe that we are adults at the age of 18 or 21. However, the truth of the matter is that at these ages, we have barely begun to live. We are still unconsciously connected to our childhood programming and are vigorously trying to live it out. Through our work, I have come to believe, the author says, that we only achieve adult maturity when we have individualized from our families and the other formative entities of our youth. For those watching chapter 2, how you feel about that? Was it you, my family, watching chapter 2 with me now? Was it you watching with me right now? Was it you that discovered that once you stepped away from the conditioning that your family raised you with, that you found your growth? Was it that once you got out that religious system and realized what God meant to you, where you truly start growing and appreciating life? Well, this is what we're talking about. And this is what the planet Saturn is all about. Spiritual growth. You going through the hard times to figure out that these were lessons. And once you figure out these lessons and continue to figure out these lessons, now you can spiral upwards instead of spiraling downwards. Although chronological age is an arbitrary indicator, it still provides a helpful reference when discussing the developmental challenges we encounter in life. Regardless of our path, sometimes these will vary depending on which of these three types of human consciousness we are expressing and whether we are drawn to the initiatory path. Because there seems to be no clear and distant division among people in general or the types themselves. These references are guidelines of a general nature. The period between the ages of 21 and 28 is very important to our continuing body development. I said the period between the ages of 21 and 28. To my people watching right now who are between the ages of 40, 50, 60, and 70, we have already done this, but it's still good to reflect anyhow. The period between the ages of 21 and 28 is very important to our continuing body development, because during this time, our emotional and mental bodies begin to mature and develop more fully, and our ether, that's the astral body, and our ether double body can often strengthen its connection to our physical body. This provides the etheric bridge necessary for us to begin experiencing past life memories. By or around the age of 28, family, we have usually had the opportunity to live out our childhood conditioning and body matter programming. If it is our destiny to break free from this, then we can begin discovering how we think, feel, and believe for ourselves based on our own life experiences as Saturn begins its second cycle or progression through our life. 25 minutes are you listening? This is class. This is a university. Pen and paper should be in hand nearby. They tell you about mental health. They teach you how to appreciate your body. But what you are hearing here, that you have mental body, you have your actually body, and you have your soul body all competing for your attention. I'm going to read this again. Now, thank you for your patience. The period between the ages of 21 and 28 years of age is very important, family, to our continuing body development. Because during this time, our emotional and mental bodies, see, you thinking you just focus on that one body and that one body that you exert throughout the day and night. That one body that sometimes you either push to the limit or you leave on stagnation. Just that one body. But you're not even knowing that you have a whole mental body, that you have an emotional body, as well as a spiritual body, all attached to that one soul. Oh, I almost forgot about the etheric astral body. And yet, we talk about mental health, one aspect of who you are. We don't talk about spiritual health that much on this planet. We don't talk about emotional health that much on planet, but we do talk about the mental. That's just one part of the body. Just only one part. Once again, the period between the ages of 21 and 28 is a very important to our continuing body development, family. Because during this time, our emotional and mental bodies begin to mature and develop more fully. And our ether double, or also called the astral body, can often strengthen its connection to our physical body. This provides the etheric bridge necessary for us to begin experiencing past life memories. By or around the age of 28 now, we have usually had the opportunity to live out our childhood conditioning and body matter programming. If it is our destiny to break free now, because everybody don't break free, but if it is your destiny to break free, family, from this, then we can begin discovering how we think, feel, and believe for ourselves. Not how the family wants you to believe, not how the churches want you to believe, not how the political structure wants you to believe, but now you have that inherited knowing of how to feel, think, and believe for yourself. Based on our own life experiences as Saturn begins its second cycle of progression through our life. This transition usually occurs between the ages of 29 to 35. That's 7 years, isn't it? Where am I? Did I go that far enough in the ages? 35. Excuse me, hold up. The 29 to 35. The second part of the growth. Once again, to my 40 to 70-year-olds, think about this now. This transition usually occurs between the ages of 29 to 35 years of age. My gosh, we're getting close. People who are around 40, we got about 5 or 6 years to reflect back now. Let's see what it says. And relate to the process and struggle of the beginning. Let's read that again. Let's read this again. Let's put respect on this. This transition usually occurs between the ages of 29 and 35 and relates to the process and struggle of beginning the individualization process. It is usually not until sometime between the ages of 35 and 42, family, that we were able to separate ourselves from the personal ties and unconscious collective entities that have conditioned our life. Let me stop there. And if you have been watching for the last going on 30 freaking minutes, I thank you so much. Because now I'm 41. A lot of you are 40. Some of you watching are 50, 60, and 70, and you can relate to this. I'm not going to play games with this presentation because it means a lot to me and it means so much more to you. So I'm going to start again. And as I start again, I want you to think about how old you are and how you can relate to this. So I'm going to go back up top. Where I'm going to go back up to. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to start right here because I want you to focus on this. A lot of you watching maybe 30 or younger, but a lot of you watching are 40 and over. And if you were 40 and over, even if you were 30 and younger, you definitely did listen to this. But if you were 40 and over, you have years to reflect now. The period between the ages of 21 and 28 is very important to our continuing body development, family. Because during this time, our emotional and mental bodies begin to mature and develop more fully, and our etheric double body can often strengthen its connection to our physical body. This provides the etheric bridge necessary for us to begin experiencing past life memories. We'll keep on going on. By or around the age of 28, we have usually had the opportunity to live out our childhood conditioning and body matter programming. If it is our destiny to break free from this, then we begin to discover how we think, feel, and believe for ourselves based on our own life experience. Now, moving on, based on our own life experiences, as Saturn begins its second cycle progression through our life. Let's keep on going. This transition usually occurs between the ages of 29 and 35 and relates to the process and struggle of beginning the individualization process. It is usually not until sometime between the ages of 35 and 42 that we are able to separate ourselves from the personal ties and unconscious collective entities that have conditioned our life. My gosh. The period between the ages of 28 and 42 is when we have usually experienced the challenges of integrating our life experiences. Let me say this again. The period between the ages of 28 and 42 is when we usually experience the challenges of integrating our life experiences. This focus helps us develop greater mental, emotional, and masculine, feminine balance and maturity with all consciousness types. The work of psychological growth and balance make it possible to progress in the most satisfying, productive, and creative phase of our life. If we have now individualized by then and continue to transmute sufficiently, then as initiates, we are able to start taking the major solar initiations by or after age 42. Damn it, I gotta stop. Even when we look at the Bible, we see that most of wise men did not become wise men until the ages of 40. We know now why. I said when you look at, even in the Bible, that when you reach the age of 40, 40 is known as the age of wisdom. We can now see why, because all the development stages that we have to go to prior to reach that. There's powerful information. I hope you're digesting it the best you can. What is that word called that a cow does? What is that word that a cow does? Is it rumification? Is it? Somebody correct me if I need to in the comments. When a cow slowly chews to get the proteins, it slowly digests the word. Rumification, I do believe. Once we truly digest this, especially for my people who are like me in the ages of 40, 41, 42, 43, keep on going. We are now understanding through life's raised experiences that now we can be calm with poise, understand life, and maneuver the best way we can. And if we have reached that state, oh, now let's get ready now, because we are really about to raise it to a higher realm, atmosphere, sphere of higher understanding and gnosis. This is what this book is telling us right now. Get ready. Keep on living is what they say, right? Keep on living is what the old folks told us, right? I'm not going to hold you too much longer. I'm going to read about another 10 more minutes, and then we're going to end this chapter 2. And if you like chapter 1, chapter 2, I'm going to see y'all reaction to it. Then maybe we could do a chapter 3, or we could just move on to the next. So I thank you so much for your patience once again. The work of psychological growth and balance makes it possible to progress into the most satisfying, productive, and creative phase of our life. Keeping track on time, excuse me. If we have individualized by then and continue to transmute sufficiently, then as initiates, we are able to start thinking the major solar initiations. That means be to the cosmics now. Once we have dealt with life and understand life to the most possible, especially by the ages of 40 and beyond, now we are ready for a solar initiation. Now we are ready to go to the higher levels and reach the cosmic family. The cosmic understanding is what it's saying. Now let's go on. Then as initiates, we are able to start taking the major solar initiations by or after age 42, as our second Saturn return occurs around the age of 56 family. We usually begin the process of deciding between the life-death cycle and the life-life cycle. Whoa, let me read it again. And I might stop here. I think I might stop here. So since I am going to stop here, family, I thank you for your patience. I'm going to read this again, because, we getting to it now. We are now 40, 50, 60 years old. Some of you are 70 and 80. And if you thought your life was in it, you got another thing coming, is what I'm saying. Because now, at our age, we are now start to reap the benefits to his cosmic knowledge and cosmic power. And we have stayed true to our cosmic power and our knowing that we are not just dust of worm, but we are now spiritual beings rising to higher vibration. This book is telling us in real time that we are about to ascend to a higher understanding. I'm going to leave you with this. I thank you so much for rocking with chapter 2. I see you soon for chapter 3, maybe. Let's continue. The period between the ages of 28 and 42 years of age is when we usually experience the challenges of integrating our life experiences. This focus helps us develop greater mental, emotional, and masculine, feminine balance and maturity within all consciousness types. The work of psychological growth and balance makes it possible to progress in the most satisfying, productive, and creative phase of our life. If we have individualized by then and continue to transmute sufficiently, then as initiates, we are able to start taking the major solar initiations by or after age 42, as our second Saturn return occurs around the age of 56 years of age. We usually begin the process of deciding between the life-death cycle, I like this part, and the life-life cycle. The life-life cycle is governed by the transcendent energies represented in astrology by the planets of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. In chapter 1, that's what I was talking about with the planets. From the sun to Saturn, family. I'm going to say this again. I might even say this on TikTok. From the sun to Saturn, we are embracing ourselves for this physical development that we have on this planet. We must go through the trials and tribulations, because if we survive it, if we keep our head high, then when we reach our elder ages, we are now sufficiently ready to start reaching to the higher consciousness, which starts from Uranus, which goes to Neptune, and goes to Pluto. And even then, beyond Pluto, there are ancestral realms, which people who know about chaos magic know all too well about. Through successive physical embodiments, evolutionary life provides us with the opportunity to balance our karma gradually and unconsciously. However, this pattern of growth will only elevate the vibration of our body consciousness incrementally in an ever increasing or upwardly spiraling way. As a result, the laws of matter and the natural world govern our physical plane learning experiences in our biological bodies. This process constitutes what might be referred to as the life death spiral. And I'm going to stop here. And like I did on chapter 1, I'm going to end on the little bottom notes here and see what that says as we end off. Where Saturn governs evolution, Uranus and Neptune govern initiation. Pluto seems to rule the new body process. Author Ruperti, that's what he writes. And I quote, "The three planets beyond the orbit of Saturn symbolize stages in human development which are transcendent. These planets represent new factors affecting human activity on both social and individual levels. Factors which continually upset the status quo, both in thought and action on all levels of society." Think about where we are at in a time, not just in America, but all over the world as we read this. By design, family, the initiatory process certainly does, and I quote, upset the status quo in order to help us change and grow more rapidly than through evolutionary process. And I think that's what we're seeing now in this world. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, all in one day. Cosmic Christ University, back better than ever. We're just getting started. You haven't seen anything yet. To my family, 592 elite enlightened ones, classmates, students, masters, let's get it to 1,000. Let's get it to 2,000. Let's get it to 10,000. Let's get it to 1,000,000. I'll see you soon. Peace.